What's up, guys? It's Philly Wonka here, and today's video is gonna be a story. The story of how I got my first job, why I quit, what the future of work is gonna look like for me, and why I'm going down this trajectory in life. It all started when I was 20, when I got the opportunity to work at what I considered then to be my dream company and dream job profile. It was one that involved me being the head video person for this company that I had freelanced for before. And they had operated at a scale that impressed me quite a bit. So when the opportunity came to me for them to hire me as their lead head videographer, I didn't bat an eye. I moved cities for it. 3 months go by, and I understand that the work profile was not one that was initially promised to me. There were far fewer travels than what was initially told, and the kind of work that I was doing was not really the quality of work that I wanted to produce. And then something interesting happened. 3 months after I joined, the salaries started coming in later. And I was uncovering some of the sketchy stuff that the company was doing. Now, I'm not going to disclose the company name because I don't want to fight any legal cases, but the company was a NetTech platform that focused on design. And so it sold these courses that it was creating sort of as a means to pursue your dreams for people that couldn't really afford design education in India. Because design education was still, and still is to this day, quite expensive for people that want to pursue it. And the initial investment that you have to put in for any kind of design course is not one that a lot of people can afford. And so when you get the celebrity instructors and world class designers, at least in the Indian space, together and create a curriculum based on it, you tend to have an audience that's quite interested simply because India worships their celebrities. And so that was their whole shtick, in essence, with creating this course. They wanted to create a course that was celebrity focused and oriented, and one of their biggest incentives or USPs was that you could win an internship with these designers. But the internships never came through. The course offered very little as compared to what it had initially promised, and the marketing was deeply, deeply flawed. And what I uncovered after 6 months of working there was that the company had no real investments coming in, except for trying to really push the course on to the people that signed up on their website through telemarketing. And that sale was what was coming to us as salary. This company had no real profit margin. It was a sinking ship. But all of that wouldn't have really affected me as much as the actual low integrity of the company. The person that was calling all of the shots was an extremely low integrity person, and he was not somebody that I would want to ever work with. And so, because of this falsehood in marketing and seeing how this company was actually contributing towards unattainable dreams and falsehoods for the people that were buying into this course, seeing all of that, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand working in an environment that so very hinged upon very sleazy business tactics just to stay afloat. And then I began my freelance work. It wasn't easy. It's been 5 months since I started freelancing, and it still is not quite easy because I've made a promise to myself that the clients that I take, the people that I want to work with, have to be companies that actually contributed positively to society and to humanity. But even still, even though I was working with these health brands that focused on healthy snacking and alternative sources of protein and fibers that were quite healthy, even though I was working with brands like these brands still did not value high consciousness marketing. These brands were still resorting to sleazy ways to bring eyes on their product. And it's not the fault of the brand itself. It's quite honestly the fault of culture itself, of society itself, because society has encouraged us to be low consciousness. The way that marketing has been pushed to us is through low consciousness um, propaganda like marketing tactics. And it's quite scientific based. Like everything that you see online is split tested. And that's why content like mine that are not really marketed are not, unless you stumbled across me by very by the very fate of chance, you wouldn't see people talking about this all that much, simply because this is not what's profitable for any company, any business. And as I was contemplating on this, and as I was really in this dilemma of what should be my next move, I spoke to my dad, and his response to that was that I've never had to know survival for myself, to know what's it like to really focus on these high consciousness marketing and it's truly a game of survival for most of these companies, because if they don't focus on their end of the marketing, somebody else will take their space. And that kind of a culture that we are riding on right now is not something that I am happily able to accept for myself, nor am I glad to contribute to it any further. And so the future of my work is gonna be extremely high consciousness. I want to make such an impact to society that people will have a paradigm shift in what they think and how they act. It's not easy doing something like this because very few people are talking about how to even go about doing something like this. And so for me, it's more of a challenge of trying to figure it out more than anything. And figuring it out is a hairy, messy process that often involves a lot of traps and I'm not sure how I'm gonna navigate through all of that. But one thing is for sure, the need to be in alignment with who I believe I am and the kind of value that I'm outputting to society need to be congruent. Or else I am living in a schizophrenic reality that does not benefit me by any means. Like when you're exposed to certain kinds of information, you get this sensation of, oh my lord, I cannot continue like this if I want to pursue the highest good, the highest truth. we're getting a little metaphysical over here, but life is metaphysical in its nature. So I have no issues talking about it, nor declaring the path that I'm choosing to traverse in. So then the question becomes, what are some high consciousness carriers that I can look into? Well, the first is what I am doing right now, presently, but in a very methodical, high consciousness way. And for those that don't know, what I do is video creation and direction and a little bit of editing, but mostly I outsource my edits when it comes to client work. So this means that I stick to my guns and I only choose clients that I want to work with, whose products I use because it genuinely benefits my life and it elevates my quality of existence. That's a very that's a very niche clientele that I can't fully rely on for my survival, at least at the very present moment. So well, like I said, it's still in the process of figuring it out. I'm not sure how I'm going to go about doing it. In which avenue am I going to pursue this new shift in the work that I choose to do? Um, but I do know that it is important for me to make this happen for myself. More important than earning a bunch of money and having material needs acquired, because through personal and direct experience, I know that the desire to have a bunch of money and acquiring that bunch of money won't make me happy. It's really the the secret to happiness, at least in my present understanding, is creatively contributing to mankind's progression, elevating mankind. Now, that is stupidly difficult because you're not talking about an individual alone. You're talking about an entire paradigm shift for a whole culture. And corporations and governments and religions spend billions of dollars and have thousands of volunteers to shape the culture that we are presently living in right now. I unfortunately don't have those resources with me. And so the kind of impact that I can make at this very present moment will be in the minuscule of forms. But even then, having words of encouragement from the people that watch my content, people that I know personally, when they tell me that your content had made me think about it in a way that I've never had, already shows me that this is the path that you need to take. This is gonna be a productive venture for you. Maybe not monetarily at the present moment, but something that will benefit somebody except myself. And to me, that is the greatest source of happiness, is to help other people in the areas in which they were deficient in, because I understand how difficult it is to pull yourself out from the reality that you're living in. And the reality that most people live in is it's not a very good one, is mediocre at best. And there's a lot of suffering and depression and all of those negative aspects of life that manifests itself when you're living in a not so ideal reality that was programmed into you by the culture that you grew up in. Because culture doesn't know any better, society doesn't know any better. Like some of the stuff that I've encountered in terms of knowledge, I think to myself, why did nobody in school teach me this? Like, how come? Like, how did they forget to leave out this part? Like nobody in school taught me what happiness was. Nobody in school taught me what fear was and how to conquer fear. But like, we are ruled by fear every single waking second of our life. Like, that's absurd to me. And finding the right kind of information and even becoming conscious that, yes, fear is something that my life is constantly enmeshed with was a difficult journey that required 4 years of self investigation and introspection and self inquiry. And that was because I had the opportunity or the environment to do that work. Like my dad said, I never had to really worry too much about survival as much as other people had. And it's truly a disservice that nobody really is talking about this. And it's an even bigger disservice that even the people that are talking about it, they don't get to put their content out into many people's eyes because society does not value that. Because people really believe, people are brainwashed to think that that is not as important as chasing the funds to purchase the next iPhone or the next MacBook or the next OLED flat screen TV or the next sports car or whatever it might be. We really need to shift collectively in what we prioritize and give importance to in our life. And this is not just something that you can do within a fortnight. Like it's not as simple. It's a lot more complicated than that. Because truly going on this journey means that you will have to disassociate with the kind of activities that you were engaged with. And this involves your work, this involves the friends that you hang out with, this involves the family members that try to lock you in the same paradigm. This involves following different kinds of news. There's a lot at play over here. And you might be fair in criticizing me for not being able to convey this in a manner that is the most absorbent, because I myself don't know how to go about this truly. I am also trying to figure this out. But I'm telling you, the reason why I'm sharing this is because once you are cursed with this awareness, there is no running away from this. You have to act on it, or else you will be suffering your entire life. And the truth is, most people are undergoing this suffering. It's just that they don't have the awareness to know that this is what is causing suffering. So consider yourself lucky to be cursed with this awareness. It's a blessing, but it's packaged as a curse. So unwrapping that gift box is gonna be a prickly process because it's covered in a lot of thorns and there's no protection. You just have to go in with your bare hands and you might get hurt in the process. But it's a good kind of pain. It's the pain of purification as opposed to the pain of karmic consequences of your actions. It's really hot. I've switched off the fan simply because the audio will get disrupted if the fan is on. So there's a lot that I'm doing for you guys. But in terms of this video, I will leave you with this. Recognize that culture has programmed you with believing all sorts of things. And we live in a very materialistic society, and it can be difficult to justify breaking out of this paradigm because the whole world is going to be against you for doing so. But this is a long-term game. And if you have long-term thinking, if you have long-term vision, this is going to pay dividends. It might not benefit you so much in the short run, but trust me, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon. Life is a marathon, and it's not worth sprinting your way through the marathon, hoping that everybody else gives up. Because the one that paces himself will reap the most benefits. So that's about it from me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys the next time. Peace.